I work with a lot of beginning players that are just starting to learn Dungeons and Dragons, and one of the questions that commonly comes up is like, "So, what can I do?" So, I made a little macro here for what can I do, and I'll show you how it works here, and then I'll show you how I built it. So, just push the button, and it comes up and lists out basic actions and character actions, and then you can click on one of these. We'll do attack just simply, and it comes up, gives you the nice layout of like, okay, well, here's what attack is. You can make these as detailed as you want. This is enough usually for people to read it quickly and stay in the game. So let's go through how I built this out here real quick. So I built it as a API script, and I can go through and type all this out, but I'm just going to walk through what it does. So the first thing is we're listening for a chat message, and I'm checking to make sure that it's from the API is the origin that the message comes from, and that it starts with, what can I do? That's the name of the script that I'm building out here. If it's from API and starts with what can I do, then we take the player ID and the name of the character, and I put them just into an array called who. I just figured that just is easier to reference those things as I need them. And then we go into what can I do. Once I get the output from what can I do, which will be HTML, then we post it in the chat from who sent the original message, and then the HTML came out of what can I do. Okay, so very simple, create HTML that's going to come out and then put it into the chat. So let's go look at what can I do. So what can I do basically is going to take the who variable that we set up, and it's just going to pop out HTML. So I'm using a string format here. So it's taking basic adventures as H3, paragraph tag 0, and 0 is going to be the output from this function here. Then H3s again for character actions, which is the 1, which is the output from this function here. Now, just for you to know, string format is not built in to this framework here. So at the very top, I've defined string format here. So this is just a general find and replace based on the parameters that you provide. So it's a nice way to keep, so I can write out a string for HTML and not have to keep splicing it with variables. So just works for me. Go about it your own way. Okay, let's look at get basic action. So get basic actions takes 2 arguments, player ID and the character name. Could pass it in as the who variable still, but I broke it out just because these are the things that I want to kind of keep simple here. And all I do here is creating these action objects with a name and a description. So it's really just a list or an array of these action objects with name and description. And so the action objects are pretty simple. It's just a JSON object that has the name and the description. So keeping it simple there. So I build out that list and then pass that list, my player ID and character name, into format actions. Inside of format actions, it's pretty simple. We have an output string. Then we loop through each action. And then using our string format, we're going to append it to output. Plus equals means take whatever's in output and then add what comes next onto it. So in this particular case, it's going to be a series of hrefs. We're going to say, what is that action? So that's the next thing I'm going to call. 0, 1, 2, 3, and then 1. So what is this saying? So this is saying use the first parameter, player ID, is going to go in here. The next parameter is action name, which is going to go in here and here. And then cleanse text, which is going to go in here. Cleanse text, because sometimes the descriptions for these things can have characters that will create issues for your href, like a colon, or maybe it has a quote in it or something like that. So cleanse text will take care of all that for you. And I'll share all this in the blog post that this goes with. And then finally, character name is 3. Okay, so I'm going to take all that information and just put it into my href here, so I can click on the href and it will run what is that action. All right. So once this is output, then remember, back down in our events, so I got format actions is called by the character get basic actions and is returned as a string. String comes back. Here's our first string. It's going to come out in the 0 here. And then we send that to the chat. And that's how we end up with this output. These are each A tags with the href built out. Now, if you have a description that breaks your href, they'll just look like a word underlined, and you won't have the pink box around it. That's how you know there's a problem with your href tag. So pretty simple stuff. I'll do another video sometime of how I did character actions. But once you have this A tag and you want to click on it, let's go look at how that works. So as that click, what is that action? Remember, we had that as in the href for these A tags, the anchor tags. First thing we do is split by pipe. Some people use spaces, but we're going to have a lot of spaces in between the words, so I split by pipe just to keep it simple. Get the player ID, the action name, the description, the character name, and then just pop it out as an output here. So here we're setting up the div HTML text, and I got this using Explorer, the Code Explorer in Chrome, the developer tools, to go and find, like, how does that nice formatting happen? Then I append another string, and using format, put in the action name inside the span here. And then I append to the output again, with the 0 here for restore text. And restore text basically goes back through and does the find and replace to put things like colons back in or quotes back in, all that good stuff. And then it sends the chat for who came or who sent it. So it's a respond back and what output it has. Now you have your character name here and your player ID, so you can do all kinds of clever stuff here and kind of take this further. I didn't want to make this a wizard of like, okay, now what do you want to do? Use item. Now, which item do you want to use? I don't want to go that far. Really, it's just a matter of helping characters understand, helping new players understand, what can I do here? So I hope this was helpful for you. This basically is just taking the Hello World example and pushing it a little bit further using some HTML to give formatting and being able to use those H tag or the A tags with hrefs to call another action. So you can create kind of a chain of events for your players to be able to understand what they can do in this game called Dungeons and Dragons. So let me know if you have any questions. There's probably lots of optimizations that can happen with this script. If you have ideas or anything like that you want to share, feel free. But that's it. Thank you.